Okay. So thank you all so much for hopping on tonight's meeting for Showcase Logistics. I appreciate all of you in advance um, for agreeing to assist. Backstage, there's a lot that goes on backstage, but thank you to those who have already participated and are returning. Thank you to the new families who have volunteered to assist as well. I appreciate you all immensely. The document that you are looking at right now is a printout regarding backstage logistics, who is going to be where, doing what. You will have a soft copy of this emailed to you. You will also have a hard copy of it available or posted in your specific dressing room to make sure that you just have it readily available for to review as needed. So starting with check-in or setup, we are asking staff and all showcase volunteers to arrive at our showcase venue by 11:30 a.m. So our dancers are being dropped off by their parents at 12:30, which gives us an hour to get in the building, get all of the rooms set up, get our check-in table set up and all of that, and make sure that everything is already in place so that as parents are coming in, they have people who are able to show them exactly where to go, where they're already set up. It really bugs me when we are still setting up as parents are arriving. I want us to look as organized, as together as possible. And so, giving us about an hour head start before families come in is really the best way to do that. So, for volunteers and staff, we need you all at our showcase venue by 11:30 a.m. on both days. So, this is dress rehearsal as well as showcase day. Reminder that our dress rehearsal is Sunday, May 17th from 11:30 to 4. And then showcase is Saturday the 23rd from 11:30 to 4. Um, so as I said, arrive by 11:30. We'll have a check-in table. Dylan and Kendra are going to be sitting at the check-in table to greet families and dancers as they come in, write down the time that they arrive, and then you'll hand them off to a runner or drop off assistants, which is Morgan, Javen, and Ashley, are shining, and the dancers will be escorted to one of these dressing rooms. We have a Shining Stars dressing room, Superstars, Junior Showstoppers, and then our Junior to Senior Showstopper dressing room. As of now, there won't be any dressing room attendant in the junior showstopper dressing room because it is directly backstage. And so they will already be in the vicinity where they need to be to get dressed, to be ready. We do that on purpose because those dancers are in the most or the largest amount of pieces. So they have a lot of quick changes. So they will be directly behind the stage. And because of that, there really isn't a need for an adult to be back there because all of the people who are already be backstage, people on headset, the people who are running, there will still be, active supervision back there. But in the Shining Stars dressing room is Zara, Michaela, and Sarita. Superstars is Azalea, Tyla, and Audrey. Junior Showstopper dressing room is Malikta, Annabella, and Aaliyah. So we intentionally, for our parent volunteers, we intentionally place parent volunteers in dressing rooms where their dancers will not be. Unfortunately, in previous seasons, we had parents in the same room as their kiddos and found out the hard way that that wasn't necessarily the best placement for them because the parents were focusing so much on their own dancers that they weren't giving the type of attention that we needed to all of the dancers in that room. And so we just want to make sure to keep everything, as equitable as possible. Parents who are volunteering will usually not be in the same room as their dancers. A couple families messed it up for everybody. So there's that. Morgan, who is a former main attraction student and former main attraction staff member, will be floating as needed. Once we get into the auditorium opening, people in places, dancers getting ready for those first few performances on stage, we'll transition from those runners and people who were going to be outside in the lobby. Will transition to their spot in what's called the front of the house and the back of the house. So front of the house is audience, back of the house is backstage. So Kendra will be on headset to communicate with our theater and music engineers. Javen and Savannah will be in the holding area to make sure classes are in position at least two dances before they need to be on stage. Ashley will retrieve dancers from dressing rooms according to the performance order and then escort them backstage or the holding area for the performance. For the most part, this runs really well. We only have a few minutes in between, a minute or two in between each piece. And so we've timed it. I've timed the show order so that there shouldn't be a whole bunch of dead space where as one dance is coming off the stage, the very next dance is ready to go within 60 seconds. Outside of that, it creates dead time for the audience, and we don't necessarily want that to happen. Of course, sometimes it's out of our control, but the goal is for everything to run smoothly, no major kinks and all of that, which is why we ask for volunteers to be available for the dress rehearsal as well as the showcase, because you really need both experiences to for everything to run as seamlessly as possible. Here is our breakdown. So dress rehearsal is going to be a little different than showcase. The main difference is our vendor expo. We will have on the day of showcase, we'll have some small business owners come in and set up vendor table displays to showcase their products and services to all of the audience members who will be attending the showcase. So for all of the audience members, the vendor expo is included in their ticket price, where they can go patronize the various businesses that will be in attendance that day. It's really important to me to be able to do that for other small business owners because that's a huge factor in how main attraction was able to grow, we grew by word of mouth because our families, referred us to other people, their coworkers, their family members. But the other part of that is being more forward facing in the community. So participating in various community events to get the studio in front of more people who would in turn try a class, enroll their dancer. And so being able to, pay that forward and do that for other small business owners is really important to me, which is why we have a vendor expo for every showcase that we do, specifically our Christmas showcase and our end of season spring showcase. So for dress rehearsal, the vendors will not be there. They'll only be there for showcase. Still coming at 11:30 to set up putting everything up in the rooms. So in your rooms, you should have this printout, your logistics. You should also have our showcase order, which lets you know um, which dance goes, and then this class and this class and this class from top to bottom for the entire show. There's a couple columns that each dressing room should pay close attention to, and I will go over that as soon as we finish with this one. And then the third document you guys will have is a printout of our attendance. We don't have pictures of the dancers, but we have all the names of each dancer. It's our attendance roster for every class. So you will have the attendance roster for all the dancers in your dress or all the classes that are in your dressing room, and they should be stapled together in the order in which they perform within the show. So all three of these documents will help you, be prepared for running your dressing room backstage. And so the show order shows you the show order, and it also shows you the costumes that each class is wearing, their footwear, any additional accessories that the dancers need. It also should show quick changes. There's a couple of dancers where their costumes need to come with them if they're in one piece, and then they perform that piece, they go off stage, and then they change backstage and stay there until it's their turn to dance again, because their pieces are so close together in show order that we may create lagging time if they go all the way back to their dressing room to change and then come back. Unfortunately, we were not able to get the dressing rooms that are directly across the hall from the theater like we normally do. Those had been booked by another organization. So the dressing rooms that we have are going to be up the stairs and down the hall, which is not ideal, but that's why we have a few more adults in the dressing room than normal for this showcase in particular, because we want to make sure we have those additional hands to get the dancers changed quicker so that they can come back downstairs quicker and hopefully address that lagging time that we're trying to avoid. So 11:30 drop off, 11:30 staff arrives and parent volunteers. 12:30 dancers are dropped off. They're escorted by our runners to their specific dressing room. And then, so parents and staff, once you all get dancers as they start arriving, you should be checking for a couple of things, making sure that the dancers are already dressed in their first costume. That's going to be a huge help for you guys. Making sure that if their costume involves tights, the tights are on underneath their costume, not put on top. You're also checking to make sure that they have showcase face and showcase hair. So showcase hair is the bun or the puff at the very top of their head, no curls, no bangs, no hanging tendrils or anything like that. And then makeup is flesh tone foundation, um, gold eyeshadow, thin strip of eyeliner, and a dark red lip. If any of those things are missing or out of place, there will be materials in the room to help you get those dancers together. So there should be makeup, and there should be a little like showcase bag in every dressing room. It'll have the things that you need for touching up their makeup, things that you need for touching up their hair, bobby pins, brushes, gel, edge control, all of that jazz. And then for costumes, everybody should have their costume already. We've been passing out a lot of costumes to classes this week and last week. So almost everybody should have their costume. If for whatever reason there are still some costumes that need to be passed out, they will also be already in your dressing room in a box. That way, as parents come in, or sorry, as dancers come in, you check that box, make sure that all the dancers have anything that's still waiting for them in that box. Make sure to pass it out to the dancer, and then so just double check costumes, hair, makeup, all that jazz. Um, There'll be a 30-minute time frame for families to drop off. We ask all families to drop off by 12:30. We know already that that's not necessarily going to be the case. Some may still be trickling in. Usually all dancers are there within 30 minutes of that drop off time that we've communicated, which gives you all time to check for costumes, hair, makeup, escort them to the bathroom as needed, making sure that they are, where they're supposed to be. Then at 12:30, everybody is going to go into the I'm sorry, at 1 o'clock, all the dancers are going to go into the auditorium for warm up. So we're stretching, we're moving across the floor. Teachers, this is also the opportunity for you all to go over any last minute things you need to address regarding your choreography, your classes, and all of that. Um, So yeah, that is from 1 to 120 for the warm up. Then 120 to 130 is when we review our bow, teach the dancers how they're going to come out in what order for their bows. And then by 145, all dancers should be back in their dressing rooms. Um, by 150, the first two pieces that are performing should be backstage. The third group in the show order that is performing should be in the holding room. The holding room is literally right next to the door that gets you into the auditorium. And so that's a space where dancers are going to be to make sure that they're in place for their performance again, because the goal is always to make sure that we don't have a whole bunch of time lagging on stage where nothing is happening on stage. Our showcase should run from 2 to about 3:15, 3:30 just in case. But our show is a little less than an hour, and then after the showcase we do our bows, we give out awards that for the dancers who receive superlative awards that were nominated by the teachers. And then we do our group picture, and then we dismiss the dancers back to their dressing rooms. We don't dismiss the dancers to their parents once the showcase is over. We dismiss the dancers back to their dressing rooms for two reasons. First, we want to make sure that all the dancers gather all of their belongings, all their shoes, their costumes, accessories, t-shirt, any garbage, food, any devices, if they brought like a tablet or something like that to keep them occupied. Gather all of those things, and then we want to, teaching the dancers how to double check their area, clean up after themselves, make sure that their space is nice and tidy. Then we will have the dance, we will let the parents know which dressing room the dancers are in, and the parents will then line up outside of that dressing room, and we'll have one to two, no more than like three parents at a time come in to retrieve their dancers. During that time, the parent comes in, they they do a double check of all their dancers' belongings, check for their bag and all the things that they needed for showcase, and then they take the dancer, out of the dressing room, and they are dismissed from there. It's also a safety thing. We don't, because we have about 50 kiddos enrolled in classes, we want to make sure that every child leaves with an adult that they actually belong to. We will be, or our dress rehearsal and our showcase will happen during normal business hours for our showcase venue. For those of you who don't know, we will have our showcase in Parma Snow Library. And so there's an auditorium inside the library, but during our dress rehearsal and our showcase, the library is still open to the public. And so to make sure that each dancer goes home with the people that they're actually supposed to go home with, that is why we put this extra measure in place. So to clean up after themselves when they go back to their dressing room, and to make sure that parents are retrieving the right dancer, making sure that they have all of their things, cleaning up after themselves, and then they are dismissed from the dressing room after showcase. I've discussed a lot, I've said a lot. Does anybody have questions or need clarification about anything that I've just shared? I'm gonna check the chat to make sure. Okay, so just highs. Any questions so far regarding time frame, timing, and breakdown of logistics that I've shared? Awesome. Okay. So we have that. Now going into more logistics that are specific to volunteers and your specific dressing room and how we flow backstage. So as I said, dancers should already come dressed in their first costume when they arrive. The show order will be emailed to parents prior to dress rehearsal, and it'll be posted in each dressing room. That way, parents know exactly what their dancer should be wearing. In our show order, it gives a pretty detailed description. So, for instance, it'll say purple dress with white lace sleeves. So it doesn't so as the parents looking at in their dance bag or look in the closet of the costumes that have been distributed, they know exactly that that's the we give enough description so that parents know exactly which costume needs to be worn by the dancer, and then the other costumes that need to be packed in their bag. Help any dancers that need additional assistance as they come in. If hair is a little untidy or if costume doesn't fit quite right, we can do some adjustments in the 30 minutes that they'll be in their dressing rooms between drop off and going to warm up. Cost Tights stay on. Almost every class for this semester has tights as a pair of as a part of their costume, even the hip hop dancers. And so make sure that tights stay on as dancers are changing from class to class, performance to performance. Tights are very difficult to take off and put back on. So to make that transition time between changing for the new costume and getting back out on stage, to make that time frame as small as possible, tights stay on the whole time. It's just going to make your life so much easier. In each dressing room, there'll be a costume box with any costumes, t-shirts, or accessories that still need to be distributed. Um, then just give them to the dancers as soon as they come in. There will also be, like I said, hair products, first aid and sewing kits, bottled water. Please do not let the dancers drink the bottled water until after showcase has already started. Why? Because if they drink water early, they're going to have to go to the bathroom, which could throw off our timing for the showcase. Also, if they drink the water before showcase starts, they may not have the water that they need to drink once the showcase has started, which could cause, breathing issues if anybody has asthma or anything like that. We want to make sure they have more than enough water for when they actually need it. Um, and with the bathroom, dancers must be escorted by a staff member or a parent volunteer whenever they leave the dressing room. The only reason they should be leaving the dressing room is to go to the bathroom. And even with that, we need a staff member or a parent volunteer to go with them. Of course, we know that kids know how to go to the bathroom on their own, but again, it's a safety issue because we will be in a space where people from the general public can just come in because it's a library. So it's a safety matter. It also helps to make sure that they go in, they go to the bathroom, they come right back, and they're not lingering or get sidetracked and are out of the dressing room longer than they need to be. Again, we're on a tight timeline, so timing and safety are the main concerns there, and why we're asking staff and parents to escort them to the bathroom. At 1 o'clock, we'll go to the auditorium for warm up and stretching. All of that we just talked about. No bathroom breaks once showcase has started, unless it is an absolute emergency. The show starts at 2 o'clock, which means dancers will have been there for 90 minutes before the showcase starts, which means if they need to go to the bathroom, they had 90 minutes before the show started. And at this point, friend, you just may have to hold it again, unless it's an absolute emergency. 90 minutes before showcase starts, which means they have more than enough time to get everything done they need to get done so that we don't have those big gaps in the showcase between pieces. Um, After dancers are dismissed to families from the dressing room, volunteers and staff are asked to do a final check of dressing rooms, place any left behind costumes and accessories in the costume box that was in there. So for that costume box, you're giving things to dancers that still need to receive them. We will keep that costume box, and it then becomes a lost and found at the end of showcase. So if anybody left anything, it goes in that box, and then we let families know that there were things left behind so they can come to the studio to retrieve them. You will also be provided with garbage bags to throw things away if there's like clutter, if there's you pull something out, pull the costume out of the packaging and there's still that packaging left, put it in the garbage. Double check. We want to make sure that we don't get fined for cleanliness. We've been doing really well these last few years, actually, with not getting charged an extra fee for the library staff having to clean behind us. And I want to, keep that record intact. Um, Yes, and so most of our dancers are performing multiple times, which gives us only about 2 to 3 minutes between each dancer's performance, which is another reason why we keep the tights on. Another reason why we have so many people in the dressing rooms because we need like 3 adults to get like 10 dancers dressed and changed into their next costume in like less than 5 minutes. So lots of things going on. It's a high impact. I mean, it's a fast-paced environment, but it's not impossible. Any questions so far, though? I've shared a lot with these logistics. As I said, these logistics will be posted in the dressing room as well as emailed to you. So you should have all of that available to you to review as needed. Any other questions? You can either type it in the chat or come off mute. Okay, awesome. Next document I'm going to share with you guys is the show order. Thumbs up or emoji if you can see this new document that I'm sharing. Okay, fantastic. So here is the show order for all. We have about, I think, 15 or 16 pieces in the show, 2 to 3 minutes each. So, like I said, the show is about 45 minutes to an hour. Um, it has the first column is the title of the piece. The second column is the class or the dancers that are doing that piece. Um, don't worry about the track, the entering or the exit cues. That is for our light and sound engineer. The main columns you guys pay attention to are the classes slash dancers, and then the costumes and footwear. So as I said, costume is very specific. Black Leo, red sparkle skirt, black tights, footwear, black jazz shoes. So you look at your attendance, you see how many kiddos are in senior jazz, and then you look to make sure that they have this costume, this footwear, and if all of that checks out, then you're ready to go. They're ready to go out on stage. Like as I said, these first two to four, the first five pieces or so, these dancers should already be dressed in these costumes. So senior jazz, junior jazz, tap two, senior ballot. Yeah, so for the first like 5 or 6 pieces, all of these dancers should already come dressed in these costumes. You're just double checking for footwear. The notes column is also something that's going to be important. As I said, sometimes we have costume changes that are very quick, so quick, in fact, that they need to happen backstage as opposed to taking the dancer back to the dressing room. And so, for instance, with this first one, number track four, track four, which is the fourth piece of the show. One of the dancers in that class, Sarah, she has right after her ballet piece, she has an acro piece. And there's about one piece in between that. So she will need to change backstage. So whoever is in the superstars that dressing room, reminder that you'll need to bring Sarah's acro costume downstairs with you while she's already dressed in ballet to make sure that she changes backstage and she's ready to go. That is actually, yeah, I think that's the case for just her class. I mean, just her, the only dancer in that class. Same thing here. And then once we get to the last couple of pieces with the bow, then you're also bringing down their t-shirts for the bow. So for instance, with the Shining Stars Ballet, once they get into their elephant costume, someone from their dressing room needs to bring all of the t-shirts to put on the dancers. Once, as soon as they're done with their piece, they go off stage. We put the t-shirt on over their costume, and then we keep them in the kitchenette until it's time for bows. They're going to be a little bit further from the stage because the tiny humans have no volume control. So they will still be downstairs on that first level, but just far enough away to where the audience doesn't hear them. And then the rest of these groups, so Hip Hop One, they're going to stay down in the holding room. Hip Hop 2 will also, they'll stay backstage. And then Hip Hop 3, because their dressing room is already in a second different section of backstage, they just go back and put on their own t-shirts. And then for the bow, all dancers will come out in their studio t-shirt with either denim or black bottoms. I will also make sure families know that they need a change of shoes for after the showcase. We do not want them to walk outside with their ballet jazz or jazz shoes on, or the tennis shoes that they wear when they're changing and getting into to come into the studio. Reminder, you know how we don't allow outside shoes on the dance floor. We also don't want dance shoes outside because we don't want them to get damaged, and we don't want to track outside into the inside, if that makes sense. So this is another document that you all will have. I'm also going to try to highlight your specific classes in yellow so that they pop out to you a little bit better, which will make it easier for you to prep in your individual dressing room. So for instance, for the junior room, I'll have all of the junior hip hop 2 tap 2 pieces highlighted in yellow so they pop out at you. Same thing for superstars ballet, jazz, tap 1, hip hop 1. Those those numbers will be highlighted so that they pop out more in your dressing room for you. Stop share. Um, and that is pretty much it for our show order document. Any questions about that? Okay, that's a good question. So, the only dancers who should not or might not be in showcase space are our Shining Stars. So Shining Stars dancers is our preschool program for ages 3 to 6. Um, for that age group, we have showcase face is optional. So the makeup, the eyeshadow, the red lip, that is optional for our youngest dancers because we do have some family members who don't feel comfortable putting makeup on their dancer, which is completely understandable. For the older dancers, though, it is required because it's a part of the costume, it's a part of the look. We are also in pre-professional teaching mode. And so a number of our dancers have communicated interest in wanting to dance at the collegiate or professional level. So this is us getting them ready for the understanding of what it means to be on stage. Your showcase face, your showcase hair is part of your costume. It's not required for our preschool program, but for the other dancers, it will be. So there shouldn't be, if a dancer comes in and they're not in showcase face or showcase hair, it's probably due to maybe the parent didn't read and didn't know that that was required, or they're not comfortable doing it. And so they would rather have, staff or parent volunteers do it for them to make sure that it's done correctly. Hope that answers the question.
Um, Carmen, I just wanted to ask and make sure that you knew that Aaliyah and I will not be there on the 17th just because we have Cinderella shows
Yeah.
then. And we'll be there for the show. I just want to double check and make sure. that
Thank you. Thank you
you
for
were. Yeah,
reminding.
of course.
So yeah, and that's another reason why normally we only have like one or two volunteers or staff members in the dressing room because some of our staff are members of professional companies. They'll be performing that weekend, and so we have extra people in the dressing rooms to account for you guys being out that day. Thank you for reminding me though. Any additional questions? We are pretty much at the end of the showcase logistics meeting. And so pretty straightforward. You all of the staff and parent volunteers will also get main attraction shirts. They will be the same color and design as the dancers, so that helps with as parents are coming in and they see the same they see a main attraction shirt that should allow them to feel comfortable asking you guys questions. For the most part, it's going to be what can parents be backstage? No. It's a huge distraction, especially for the younger dancers. We also, again, safety concerns. Um, do you guys need me backstage to help my dancer get dressed? No. That's why their first costume should already be worn as they arrive. And then we have more than enough staff backstage to help the dancers get dressed and get into their other costumes. She needs such and such. She still needs tights. Tights should be in the box. We have that for you. We'll get those on her. Now that she's here, don't worry about it. Can they sit with me in the audience? No. We have to make sure that all dancers are accounted for. So if they're not on stage performing, they are in the dressing room, waiting for either their next piece to perform in or waiting for the bow. Um, Veterans, if are there any other frequently asked questions that are coming to mind that I have not addressed? All right, great. Okay, good people. That is pretty much it. As I said, I will share so you'll every parent will get the show order so that you know staff will get the show order as well emailed to you. Hard copies will be in the dressing room, as well as the logistics sheet and the attendance for each of the classes that you are responsible for dressing in your dressing rooms. Staff, what I'm gonna do now, I'm going to close this meeting so that it can start the recording because I also want to share the recording with parent volunteers. And then once I stop the meeting, I'll start with that same link and staff, you just jump back in for staff meeting so we can finish up discussing like staff related stuff for the studio. Thank you all so much. Have a great evening. And of course, feel free to reach out to me if you have questions or something comes up. Have a great evening. Bye bye.